Hello, one and all. Hello. How are we all this fine evening? It is Wednesday, the 25th of January, on the evening that I record this world-renowned, internationally famous podcast. I can't even take myself seriously. Thank you very much for joining us this evening on the Woe Pony podcast. My name is Grace Clark, and as per usual, I bring you tales, stories that I found on the internet of random things, and in typical Woe Pony fashion, they're always a bit weird, a bit bizarre. Today's topic of the week is monster-in-laws. Monster-in-laws are mother-in-laws. But specifically, coming from the term bridezillas that we've looked at before, you know, bad brides, very demanding. Monster-in-laws are the next branch of that, where you have very demanding mother-in-laws that want to have it their way, do horrible things, and I've got some truly twisted tales to share with you this evening. Some of them long, some of them short and sweet, so we're in for the ride together. Woo! Hello and welcome back to the Woe Pony podcast. So last week, if you listened to the episode It's My Birthday, episode 2 of series 3, or indeed if you watched it on the YouTube channel, then you'll have heard and seen all about my... Can you hear that outside? It's rain! I don't know if you can hear it, but it's absolutely chucking it down outside. Anyway, back to what I was just talking about. Sorry, I'm heavily distracted, clearly. Last week, I was wearing a cap, and it repeatedly attacked the microphone. I don't know what was wrong. I don't know who irked it. It was upset, but it just kept attacking the microphone. Now, you'd have thought from that experience that I would have learned, but today I'm wearing a different cap, and it just hit the microphone again. Admittedly, I'd say it's a smaller brim. I'd say it's a smaller... What's this called at the top? Not too sure. Brim? Yeah, it must be called a brim. But it did just hit the microphone, and I did have a moment where I thought, I'm going to flip this table. So anyway, moving on. Today's topic of the week is monster-in-laws. For those who don't know, monster-in-laws are mother-in-laws that are quite difficult. Without further ado, I think we should just go into them. Now, the ones that I've got before the half past, if you're listening on the radio, are quite long. So let's strap in. I hope you've got a cup of tea. If not, why not make one while you're listening to the stories now? And just relax into it. Okay, let's go. Woo! My son is 4 months old. I'm very intentional about the products coming into our home and the baby's life. This means looking for the safest items, gender neutral and organic clothing, as well as non-toxic and educational toys. We also try to limit the number of unnecessary items in our home. Sounds a lot like my sister. Maybe she wrote this. Well, my mother-in-law could be considered a hoarder. Every room in her home is packed with stuff. Every day since my son was born, she has bought him something. Her entire guest bedroom is filled with baby clothes and toys, most of which we won't even be able to use until he's older. On top of all of that, these products are nothing like what we kindly requested. My husband has nicely told her to stop several times, but there's no end in sight. Today she brought him a jogging stroller, after we just bought him one and he doesn't need multiple, a basketball hoop and scooter. It will be years before he's able to use a scooter. We've tried to tell her to clear things with us before buying them, but it makes her mad. Anytime I try to tell her the reason I prefer specific brands or products over another, she makes comments about my expensive taste. I'm a veterinarian who worked very hard to be where I'm at, so if I want to spend my money on items I feel are best for my son, I can. It's getting to a point where I'm super angry and resentful. Well, lots to unpack here, kiddos. The baby's only 4 months old, and she's got him a present every single day. So let's just say on average that's 31 days in a month times 4. Can anyone do that maths for me? That is a lot of presents. Sometimes I think that hoarders expand and branch out and they try to get other houses to hoard, you know? I think they've got so much to hoard that they then grow. and you very kindly ask for certain specific things, which I totally get. This story does sound exactly like my sister. Katie, if you wrote in with this, please let me know. That is a lot of stuff. Probably get to the point where you're just going to have to throw stuff away without telling her. I do get the nice thought behind it, the good intentions, but that's just so much stuff, and you've already got a little baby. Why would you give a baby a basketball hoop? Unless she's going to slam dunk the baby into the hoop itself. What's the point? Save your money. Save it for the baby. Put the money that you spend on every present for the baby into a nice ISA account. You know, other accounts are available. Put it into a nice account for the baby, and then when they're older, they can spend it on stuff they need, like a laptop for university, driving lessons. And that's all I've got to say on that one. Let's move on to the next one. Probably one of the wisest suggestions I've ever made in my life. I caught my mother-in-law in a major lie. Oh, I'm ready. Okay, fixing my hat. I'm sitting up. Okay. I caught my mother-in-law in a major lie. My fiancé and I have been together for 8 years, and I've always felt that she doesn't like me. Back in May of 2020, he had a plan to propose to me, which involved taking a trip. You were taking trips in 2020 in May? Okay. He had told his mother of his plan, and the day before we were supposed to leave for our trip, she suddenly came down with appendicitis. We obviously cancelled our trip. She had surgery to have her appendix taken out, and my partner picked her up from the hospital and took her home. Since it was COVID, no one could be in the hospital with her. Oh, so you couldn't go into the hospital, but you could go on a trip? Anyway, I'm over it. I found out her lie because I worked at a doctor's office, which she attended. The emergency room faxed over the report from her hospital stay. When I handed the report to the doctor, I told him that she'd had her appendix taken out. 10 minutes later, he called me into his office and corrected me. He told me that the report said she had gone to the hospital for back pain and that there was no surgery. She lied. I kept this to myself because I didn't want to upset my fiancé. Then the other night, she called with major stomach pains and cramps, so we took her to the ER, and lo and behold, she had appendicitis. I asked the doctor if the appendix can grow back. Because she had had her appendix taken out in May of 2020. Her face turned white and my fiancé had to walk out of the room. You got caught, Brenda. You got caught. Ooh. It's nice when things come together, really. That's so cheeky. She clearly just didn't want them to go on that trip, so she lied. And they found out. If you're going to tell a lie so well that the FBI are never going to find out. Lie so well that James Bond is going to come looking for it and ain't never going to find it. Do you know what I mean? Or else don't even bother. There's little errors here that you knew you were going to get found out. Your daughter-in-law works in a doctor's office. And you went to that doctor's office. Oh, some people. Honestly. Can an appendix grow back, doctor? Love that. I bet in that moment she felt so powerful. She nailed her. I am happily married now. However, my mother-in-law is a whole other story. Okay. After our wedding, my father-in-law's health declined and he went into a coma. My husband and I paid 100% of his parents' expenses from the US by working 3 jobs each. My mother-in-law lied about the cost. She told us that her husband needed certain meds and would ask us to send more money. But she would then use the money to fund local trips that she hid from us. That is so evil. She ordered a new TV, microwave, fridge and phone. When we visited India and asked her about the new items, she would tell us she got them in an exchange offer or that she'd sold her jewellery to buy them. My naive husband believed her. Meanwhile, my father-in-law was no longer in a coma but was paralysed from the chest down. When our kid was born, my mother-in-law insisted that we visit India so her husband could see his grandchild. He had a heart attack and his health worsened. My husband was the only one paying the bills at this point, so we had to go back to the US, but my mother-in-law asked him to let me stay for mental support. When I finally came home, I discovered that she'd stolen money from my bank account in India. She was having an affair and spending the money on her boyfriend. My father-in-law passed away and she came to stay with us in the US for a few weeks, at which point I finally broke down and told my husband everything. I had proof and family members who witnessed her behaviour and saw her with the boyfriend. Guys, gals, and everyone in between, that was a bit much. I don't even know what to say. That was just, oh gosh, what a horrible person, let alone mother-in-law. Okay, actually I've got one more story before the 1:30. I thought I only had 3, but lo and behold, I've surprised myself with my prior planning. So I'll quickly read this one because I actually can't even comment on the last one. I don't even know what to say. Okay, the next one says, I had a cringe pregnancy announcement because of my mother-in-law. Okay. It went something like this. Father-in-law and mother-in-law came into our yard for a barbecue. My husband was in the yard wearing an I'm going to be a dad shirt. It took them a moment, but they realised what was happening. It was 3 p.m. on a Sunday, and I noticed right away that my mother-in-law was beyond wasted. So the following questions and comments ensued. How many times did you have to try before you got pregnant? What day did you conceive? Especially what day, I need to know. Did you do a certain position? Try your best not to gain too much weight. I lost weight when I was pregnant. Does your mother even care that you're pregnant? Why didn't you tell me sooner? What are you going to name the baby? When did you stop birth control? And finally she said, I can't believe you did this behind my back, in a very angry voice, followed by tears. She then cried for 25 minutes saying, I'm going to hold that baby so tight, over and over. She was too upset to eat after that, so they left. Okay. Well, don't really know what you want me to say about that one. Let's move on to some jams to have a boogie to. And if you're listening on the podcast or watching on YouTube, we'll be root boot.